Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today is going to be a different video than I have ever done before. I actually asked ChatGPT 15 bookish questions and I am going to answer them while I get ready for the day. So if you would be interested to kind of learn a little bit more about me while I get ready for the day, then go ahead and keep watching. So it is Friday at 9 a.m. I just got finished with my work because I do have a different work schedule than normal. And so Friday is my really early day and I only work from 6 a.m. until 9 a.m. today. And the rest of the day is free. So far I have only washed my face and that's it. So the first thing we're going to do is jump into skincare, and then I do have my makeup bag and we will move into that next. I will let you know that I am 44 years old. I have wrinkles and fine lines, and ever since COVID, I have really transitioned away from a lot of makeup. I don't really use foundation. I don't really have a lot of heavy makeup that I put on my face, and so it's not going to be like a full glam type day. It's actually never a full makeup or full glam type day, but I am a very light makeup user. If that's something that you do as well, then this might be perfect for you. But we're going to go ahead and jump into the first question, and that is, what is your all-time favorite book and why? I have Notion open on my tablet right below the camera, so if you see me look down, it's because I'm reading the screen. So I was trying to, when I first got these questions, I was kind of identifying potential answers to these questions, and I have only really started reading a lot in 2023. I did read in 2022, but not a whole lot. 2023 was really when I did a lot of my reading. So I really only started reading in 2023. So really the only type of books I have that I could really talk about are the books that I read last year. And in 2023, I read 109 books total. And of those 109 books, I could not pick one, but I could pick a series. Because the series it's a multi-book series, and all of them in my mind, it's a 5-book series or 5-star series. And that would be Throne of Glass. The reason is because it's a fantasy series. It has world building, it has character development, it has romance, it has like dragons or wyverns or magic, and it has a bunch of stuff built in. But what I really enjoy about it is that there is a wide range of characters. You will pretty much enjoy a character, if not all of them, throughout the entire book. There are definitely times when I disliked some of the characters, but for the most part, I loved every single one of the characters. Throne of Glass is definitely my all-time favorite series so far. The next question is, how do I organize my bookshelf? So I have 2 bookshelves that I have kind of put together. I bought them off of Amazon, and I have them organized by genre because I have seen people who organize by like color and all that kind of stuff. And while I like that visually, I am a very like type A personality, and anything that's not like, if I have to search multiple spots for a particular book, I do not enjoy it. If I want to read a book, I want to go directly to a specific spot to find that book. And while I like rainbow colored books visually, I don't think it would work for me because I would have to know what the book looks like and go to that particular color. And I don't know my books well enough to be able to say, I want to read A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, and I would know exactly what color that book is to go to to find that particular book. it just doesn't work for me. It's not something that I enjoy or that I believe I would enjoy. So I have mine organized by genre and then by author's last name. I might have to shift it a little bit for my fantasy because I have so many Sarah J. Maas and Cassandra Clare books that I had to kind of move my bookshelf around so that way I could keep all of that author together. So there is a slight deviation, but the Sarah J. Maas books are in the fantasy section around where the letter M is. It might not fall alphabetically exactly where M should be, but it's close enough that you would be able to find what you're looking for easily. And you could clearly see that there's an entire row of Sarah J. Maas books, and you'd be able to visually see what's going on. The third question is, do I prefer ebooks or physical books, and why? So I'm done with my skincare. I used, just for awareness, I have the First Aid Beauty Ultra Repair Hydrating Serum because I need to put moisture into my skin just because I am older and I need it. And then I did also use the Tula Glow and Get It Cooling and Brightening Eye Balm. So this is underneath my eyes, again, just for extra moisture. Then I have the Clinique Moisture Surge Intense Moisturizer. And then the last thing I put on was the Tula Skincare, the Protect and Glow. And this is Daily Sunscreen Gel, Broad Spectrum, SPF 30. And now we're going to be moving into my makeup bag, and we'll move on to that. So preferring ebooks over physical books. So I prefer reading on my Kindle books that are fairly thick, such as like 700 plus Sarah J. Maas Kingdom of Ash book or something like that. So if it's over like 500 pages, typically I try to look for it on Kindle if possible. But the other thing that I like for Kindle is I have complained in several videos that I do not like mass market paperback books because they are like shorter and narrower, and if that book is 500 plus pages, it makes it very awkward to hold. So if any book is awkward for me to hold because of the size of the book or the binding is really tight or anything like that, I prefer the Kindle version. Other than that, I like physical. I'm definitely someone who prefers physical just because I am that person where, this is not a book, this is one of my planners, but if I have a book and I have a like bookmark, I'm one of the people that when I read it, I'm like, oh, and then as soon as I close it and put my bookmark, I will look to see where I'm at. I'm just one of those people. I know Kindle will tell you exactly what percentage you're at, but I visually like to see how far I am from finishing that book. So I prefer physical books as long as it's not super thick or awkward or the binding is really tight. Next question is, if you could have dinner with any author, living or dead, who would it be? And again, I don't have a wide range of authors that I am reading or that I have read, but I will say that if I had to choose one, it would probably be Sarah J. Maas. And that is only because her fantasies are fairly large or fairly complex with a lot of characters, a lot of plot, a lot of stuff going on. And I would be interested to find out like her writing process, like how she writes, and just be able to talk through it. So the next question is, what book has had the most significant impact on your life? And I really don't have a book per se. I do have a type, like genre of book. And I think it would probably be the romance miscommunication books. And while I know people hate miscommunication tropes in romance books, I personally think it's truer to life because a lot of romance books are like, sometimes the perfect world and, all of that kind of stuff. And I find the communication trope more realistic, and I have a problem with holding my feelings in. Like, I am a person who is a people pleaser. I don't want to make anybody uncomfortable or make anybody unhappy. And so a lot of times I hold in my comments, my thoughts, or anything like that. And so I think reading these romance books that have the miscommunication trope, while it's so frustrating, it kind of stands out to me. Things could be solved so much faster if you just explained what you were feeling and how you were feeling and all that kind of stuff. So I still have that problem. I'm still a very closed off, everything is contained type person. So I'm still working on it. But I think that would probably be books that have the most impact on my life because they're more realistic and I can apply them. You know, fantasy books don't really have, it's fantasy, so they don't really apply to my real life. The next question is, how do you choose your next read? And I currently am using my card deck chooses my TBR. However, I also am kind of a mood reader. And so depending on what my card deck chooses, I will sometimes try to find, if it says choose a book of, you know, a genre that you don't normally read, I will try to kind of deviate that prompt to something that is within my mood that I'm currently feeling. So, but I also am trying this year to DNF books that I don't enjoy, and also to I'm allowing myself the ability to change my mind. So I will sometimes pick my TBR in like the very end of the previous month, so that way I know what I'm reading starting the first of the month. And if something happens and I decide 2 weeks into the month that that's just not going to apply anymore, or I'm not excited about it, I'm allowing myself the ability to change that prompt. I have not, you know, it's only January, so I haven't really done that yet, but I am allowing myself that ability. Number 7 is, are you a one book at a time reader, or do you juggle multiple books at a time? And I am kind of a one book at a time for a reading style or whatever. So I basically will make sure I have one physical book that I'm reading, one Kindle book that I'm reading, and then one audiobook if I have one. So I don't typically like to have two Kindles I'm reading at the same time, two Kindle books I'm reading at the same time, or two physical books that I'm reading at the same time, because my very organized brain does not like that type of like multitasking basically. So I like having a Kindle book and a physical book because the Kindle at least allows me to throw it in my purse really easily, and I take it with me regardless of where I'm at or like where I'm going, just on the off chance that I am sitting somewhere where I'm able to pick up a book, and having a Kindle there will allow me to do that. Whereas if I'm only reading one book at a time and that's it, and I have a book that's, you know, 700 plus pages, I don't really want to be lugging that around every time I leave my house. So I usually have one Kindle, one physical, and one audiobook. Next question is, what's the most challenging book you have ever read? And that would be Kingdom of Ash. It's only because it was 980 pages. I was very upset. It was 20 pages shy of being 1,000 pages. It was the longest book I have ever read. And this is the culmination of an 8-book series, which had a ton of different characters with a ton of different like storylines of what each character was doing. And so it was very emotional. So it was definitely, I was on a roller coaster of emotions on that book. And so that's probably my most challenging book, just because it was so long, there were so many characters, and it was keeping track of the entire plot of each character plus how they came together, and all the emotions that went with it. So that was the most challenging book that I have read. The next one is, do you have a favorite genre, or do you like to explore different ones? I am definitely a romantasy and like fantasy book genre. Those are my 3 genres I pretty much stick to. I do have some mystery thrillers. I don't have a lot. I do have some like literary fiction. Don't have a lot, but that's pretty much it. If I can stay within the fantasy, romantasy, and romance category, that's my sweet spot. That's where I like to be, and that's what I prefer. Next one is hardcover or paperback. And now for this one, I have kind of 2 different ways of thinking. So I prefer hardcovers for books that are extremely thick. Anything else, I prefer paperback. Paperback is thinner, it's usually lighter, obviously, and it's just a lot more usable. Like, I feel like I don't know. But then a lot of the hardback books, if I do have a book that's hardback, a lot of times I've been trying to get ones that have sprayed edges, that have like the really cute dust jackets. And so, I don't know, I'm 50-50. It depends on the book. It depends on what the hardback looks like and kind of how the book is. So I kind of go back and forth. My bookshelf has a mixture of hardback and softback or paperback books, and I would say the majority is paperback. We'll just put it at that. Next question is, what's your opinion on book to movie adaptations? And I will say 99% of the time, the book is better, and I typically prefer to not watch the movie piece of it. The one alteration to that is Harry Potter. I do love all of the Harry Potter movies. I haven't read the books in a very, very, very long time. I do want to get newer versions of that book, and I'll probably end up rereading them at some point. But I do absolutely love the Harry Potter series and really do enjoy that adaptation of the book. But for the most part, I really don't like the movie adaptations of books. I do like to look at the fan cast, though. I will say that. So if I'm reading particularly like a fantasy book that has like fae, because obviously you don't know what fae looks like, but I will look at like a fan cast, or if it is in a movie adaptation, I will Google what that character or that actor looks like for that character, because it just makes it a lot more I can picture it obviously much better when I have someone to actually focus on than to use my brain to kind of make up what that person looks like. I don't watch a lot of the adaptations, but I will look at who was cast for that character when I'm reading the book. All right, next question is, how do you feel about lending your book to others? And luckily or unluckily, I don't know how this works or how you would interpret this, but luckily I moved to Alabama from Georgia a couple years ago. I telework the majority of my day, and so I am not really around other people, and so I pretty much am a solitary person. I have my husband, obviously, and he does read some books, but he doesn't really read a lot of the books that I read, so I don't have to worry about him borrowing my books. My 14-year-old does not like to read, so I know she's not going to borrow my books. But even when I was in Georgia, I did not have people that really were readers that I could borrow books or lend books to. But if I did have someone who was a reader that I would lend books to, I would be very selective on whether I would lend my book out. And that's because I am picky and I do not like bended edges. So cracked spines, I'm usually okay with. Specifically, if I've already cracked it, then it's good. But I don't like dog-eared pages. I don't like writing in the margins. I don't like a lot of that stuff. I was also the person in high school that in my like notebook, I could not have the edges. Like I couldn't have papers sticking out of the edges of my notebook to where they would wrinkle. I could not do that. I did not have papers just loose in my book bag. Everything had to be within a binder so it was protected. I had sheet protectors also for certain things. I was that nerdy OCD type person. So when it comes to lending out a book, I kind of have the same mentality. So I would have to be very selective. I would have to choose the person and know that person well and have them know me well enough to know what I like and what I don't like. Because I would hate to lend a book out assuming that I was going to get my book back in the same quality that I gave it out. If I gave it to somebody and when I got it back, the front cover was like bent and there were pages all messed up, there was watermarks on it, I would be very upset. So I have no problem lending out books, only if I can guarantee or almost guarantee that when I get it back, it's in the same quality as it was when it left. Next question. Is there a book you have tried to read but couldn't finish? And I have obviously some DNF books that they're DNF for a reason, but there is one book that I have tried to read and I want to read, and I actually have read once, but it was so long ago I can't really remember what happened. But that is Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. And I tried to read that last year in 2023, and I got it. It's on my Kindle. My husband bought it as the set, so it's like the trilogy. And when we bought it on Kindle, instead of it telling like the percentage of how far you are in the book, it looks at how far you are in the series. So I would be like 200 pages and it would only say that I was 10% done with this book. And I did not like that. I want to see my progression. Like if I'm sitting there reading a book for days, I want to see a substantial progression, and I could not. And so I just recently found that book used. It's in a mass market paperback, which I'm not happy about, but I did find that book used at Second and Charles. So I have a physical copy of that book now, and it is on my list of 24 books I want to read in 2024. So hopefully I will be able to finally reread Mistborn and be able to remember that story, because I have, which you're going to see in my February reset, or my monthly reset video, all of the books that I bought in January, and I found a crap ton of Brandon Sanderson books used that I have never been able to find at my used bookstore. Like, you can find Brandon Sanderson, but they were always new. And I like used books. And so I found a ton of Brandon Sanderson books. So I plan on reading them in 2024, but I want to read Mistborn first because I need to get that book out of the way. So that is a book that I have tried to read, but so far have not been able to finish. The next question is, how do you feel about annotated books or writing notes in the margin? I just recently did a video on this specific topic, and you can check it out above. But if you don't feel like watching that video, I would say go ahead and watch the video, because I have a lot of pointers as to why I'm doing what I'm doing when it comes to annotating. But I do not like to annotate in a book, and that's only because the majority of my books, if I do not enjoy them, I don't plan on keeping them on my bookshelf. I don't want to have a bunch of books on my bookshelf that I plan on never reading again. And so I do not want to have an annotated copy of a book in my bookshelf that I'm never going to touch again. So I do not annotate in the book physically. What I will end up doing is I use flags, I use sticky notes, and that type of thing. And that is how I annotate. So it's a temporary annotation and not a permanent annotation. And now, this is like perfect timing because I'm on my mascara, and that's literally the last thing I do. So as you have seen, I am very light when it comes to my makeup. I pretty much only use eyebrows, a little bit of concealer, and I have a little bit of under eye powder, and that's only so that way I don't have to worry about like smudging underneath my eyes, because I notice if I don't like do a little bit of powder underneath my eyes, a lot of times I'll have like the little black smudges from where like my concealer is that's been transferred from my mascara. But for the most part, it is eyebrows, concealer, mascara, and then I have a little bit of blush that I will use. And then that's pretty much it. Everything else is natural. Like I don't have anything on my forehead, except I did use like this L'Oreal True Match Lumi Glotion. And that's what I usually put on first before anything else. So I do have a little bit of glow to it because I don't like, for me, I'm getting older and I don't like matte finish because I feel like it makes my lines stand out much more. So I like more of a dewy finish. That's why I usually don't have anything except for that glotion on my skin for the most part, but it's pretty simple. So the last question is, what's the last book that made you laugh or cry out loud? And I think I just recently read a book, and I don't remember what book it was, that I did have like a laugh out loud moment, but it was only like a single moment. It wasn't a consistent like laughing throughout the book and crying throughout the book. I did have some books that have been emotional throughout me reading it, but the book that I immediately thought of for this question was Kingdom of Ash. So I know I have mentioned Throne of Glass several times in this video. So as you can tell, if you have not read Throne of Glass, you should read it. This is your what is it? This is when you need to go, and this is your push to go and read Throne of Glass, because that book, like I said, is a lot of characters over a longer fantasy series. It has romance, it has world building, it has dragons, it has, or wyverns or whatever you want to call them. It has so much. But I, like I said earlier, was very emotional while reading that book. I laughed, I cried multiple times to the point where I had to like get a tissue because I could not see anymore through the tears. So that is definitely that's the last book that made me that emotional. But I do foresee in 2024 that might change. That, that big book being the last book that was emotional. I know because I have a lot of books planned for 2024 that I have a feeling are going to destroy me. And I'm very excited for it. So, and now we're going to put my nose ring back in because I am, again, one of those people that I'm very OCD at times. And I know I'm not a true OCD. I'm sorry if people are going to come at me. I know everyone uses the term OCD, but it's not for like OCD type true activity. So don't come at me. I'm using OCD as like a generic thing. And I'm sorry if that offends anybody. But I do not like to put makeup on over my nose ring because I do not like to have makeup covering my nose ring. So that is the end of this Get Ready With Me and Q&A bookish tag questions and answers, whatever. That's the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any bookish type questions that you would like me to answer, drop them down below. Or if there's anything that you would like to see in the upcoming future, then also let me know down below. I am definitely open for making content that you would like to see. I do have a lot of videos coming up in the future, so please make sure if you have not done so, go ahead and like and subscribe this video. I would greatly appreciate it. And with that, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!